Edgewater High School, where he helps to empower the youth there, help them to empower and share their stories. He's here today to tell us about his journey through the foster care system, being abused, and how he actually got through it. So welcome to the show, Mr. Efren Lozada. Woo! Thank you for being here. How are you?
Good. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you, guys.
Know your worth.
Always got to know
your worth.
Yes,
I love it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here. We met your lovely wife and your adorable
Beautiful
daughter.
daughter.
I'll babysit. Anytime you need.
We need a babysitter, so sign yourself up. So.
I got you. I got you.
You on speed dial now?
Oh yeah, you do have my number. So welcome to the show. And
Thank
first I want to say thank you for sharing your story. This is going to impact so many families, so many men, and give them the courage, and that's what it's all about, right? Give them the courage to know that you're not alone. Men go through this too, and they can speak about it. So my first question is, so that it goes through the journey, how did you end up in the foster care system?
Well, I was 2 years old. I actually come from a huge family. So my mom had 10 kids. We're all adopted. My aunt took me in at the age of 2. My actual biological mom, she was into drugs, just on the streets, a lot of different things that just allowed her not really to be able to take care of her kids. Okay. So at that moment, we got called into the system. They called my aunt to see if she would take us in, and she did. She actually raised 4 of her own kids.
Wow.
And then also took in 3 of us. So me, my sister that follows, and my brother that follows as well, we were all raised by actually my aunt. And that's really how I got started at the age of 2 years old.
Wow. So that was the only foster family that you were in, was with your aunt?
Yes. I was blessed to kind of only have that one family. So I was with her. She took me in at 2 years old, physically adopted by her when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
But yeah, I never got to experience the multiple homes that some people, unfortunately have to deal with.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just blessed to just be there.
Okay. So I'm going to jump right into it so that we can understand what you went through. So can you walk us through when the sexual abuse started and how?
Very early, 5, 6 years old. It started at home, probably for almost 10 years. And, it was just doing things that a regular 5, 6-year-old would not do.
Okay.
Sexual intercourses, being touched inappropriately. And it was just something that almost seemed normal, and I couldn't really speak out too much on it because here I am adopted. I was already hearing things from even that household where you're picked up off the streets, you were adopted for the money, things like that, that just led me to believe that, I didn't want to lose the opportunity of actually being with family. This is the only family that I did have. Obviously, already being taken away from the family that I already had. I just kind of kept quiet for so many years.
Wow.
You felt like you needed to.
Absolutely.
So you actually kind of touched on the question that I was going to ask you next.
I'm
You
sorry.
said at 5. No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. You said at 5, you said you kind of thought that it was normal somewhat. So at what age did it start to click that, like, wait a minute, this isn't right?
It happened to almost high school days, 15.
Really?
Yeah, almost high school days. And it really wasn't until maybe that individual separated from the family where I was able to kind of, and even through then, kind of asking those questions in my mind, like, am I bisexual? Like, do I like men? Because this is what I was experiencing for so many years, right? The men I'm in contact. So it wasn't until that time where I was separating, still asking questions to myself in high school, but really probably not saying anything until I met my now wife, where I was able to say that I was sexually abused and understand that I wasn't at fault. Understand that, and then even addressing the individual, when it did happen, because I understood that I couldn't help others if I wasn't helping myself.
True.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
So thank God to my wife, because it was her that said, listen, how are you creating a nonprofit and you're mentoring when you're not
You haven't dealt
yourself?
with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I do want to go back a little bit because it happens so regularly, right? And I think kids usually blame themselves. So at that time, when you realize, okay, this is wrong, what are some of the barriers that you have to face and the obstacles you had to overcome with letting someone know, hey, this is happening to me?
Well, I honestly didn't even let anybody know what was happening to me. Not until I met my wife. No one knew. My mom, that adopted me, she didn't really know until she seen me on social media talking about it. So she, to this day, doesn't really know probably full details of the story or anything like that, because when she realized that there was something was going on through social media, because the connection at home, there was no connection at home, right? There was no relationship, which is why I felt that I couldn't say much. I felt I was already treated different than the others. So it was just me, my brother and sister, and we kind of maybe kept that close, but I didn't really say to anybody that something was going on until, again, my wife said something, and I actually, I will remember when I had to pull over, I'm texting my friends, I'm texting my wife and saying kind of sorry for almost lying, right? I felt like I was living with so much guilt this whole time, and just letting them know that this is what's happening to me. I didn't want to feel judged, right? Those are the moments too. I didn't want to feel judged, so I didn't want to tell friends, I didn't want to tell family. When I met my wife, she's the one that kind of really poured all that out of me. And then those are the barriers I had to really start doing, is first start to speak about it and let myself know that it was, not that it was okay, but I was okay. That I wasn't at fault. Right. And so those are the things that I had to kind of deal with, and to this day, it's still things that kind of trigger those moments.
Really?
It can be smells, it can be places that would trigger those things, and I have to live with it. And I think the biggest thing, the biggest barrier was confront the individual and let them know, hey, I know you may think that I forgotten or anything like that, but I didn't forget, but I forgive.
That's good.
Right. Wow. And he even asked me, like, wow, does your wife know? And my wife is the reason I'm here. I'm just hoping that it's not happening. This individual has kids. I'm hoping it's not happening still, and it's not happening to your kids. I just want you to know that I'm strong. I'm going to overcome this. And at that moment, I realized, like, it was something that I needed to continue to talk about, because there's people out there that living like that. I went to high school and spoke, and I remember this one individual coming to me and saying it was a friend, but I can see it in her face that it wasn't a friend.
Yeah.
Right. So it's those things. Those are the things that kind of the barriers that I had to overcome. Is really just speak out, and that's where it started. I told this story before for the first time, emotional, crying. Now I can kind of talk to you with a smile on my face, because I understand the difference that it's truly really making, how I've overcame it, and others can really overcome this as well.
And you're helping so many people right now watching this and hearing your story. We are actually going to take a break. We're going to invite you back at the end of the show so we can hear more about this, and we can keep the conversation. But we have to take a short break. We'll be right back after this.